In this video today, I'm going to showcase the best settings for Fortnite in Season 4, so you can start the newest season off with the highest FPS and lowest input delay, along with getting the best graphical settings, sensitivity for better aim, and keybinds for better gameplay. If this video helps out, please drop a like on it and subscribe for more. Inside the video settings tab, Windows mode should always be on full screen for less input delay. Resolution is personal preference. Native 1920 by 1080 will give you higher FOV plus better graphics but less FPS, whereas a stretched resolution will give you more FPS, bigger hitboxes but less FOV. So if you do choose stretched, I recommend using one of these popular resolutions on screen right here. By the way, if you do choose one of these resolutions, I've got a tutorial on how to set it all up on screen too. I'll leave a link in the description below. Frame rate, this should match your monitor's refresh rate. So if you've got a 144Hz monitor, your FPS should be 144 to match it. Same with 240 and same with 360 as well. Brightness is personal preference this season. In my opinion, I think 100% does look the best in Chapter 3 Season 4, but if you go higher, like 125%, obviously it gets a little bit brighter. And if you go something like 150, the max brightness, it gets really bright, as you can see on screen right here. In my opinion though, I recommend having 100%, because if you look around, the map is pretty bright already. Colorblind, this again is personal preference. Here's what the game looks like on no colorblind mode. You can see it just looks pretty normal. If I put it on a Deuteranope, this obviously makes the game look a lot more darker and dingy. Here's what Protanope looks like. You can see it has a similar effect, but not on the extreme. And then finally, here's what Tritanope looks like, which as you can see, it does make the game look a lot more vibrant and slightly brighter, which I myself do think looks pretty good this season, but I don't think it actually compares to having no colorblind mode off. I think this one paired with 100% brightness is definitely the best move this season. 3D resolution, this should be on the default 100% for best visibility. As you can see, everything looks HD here, but if you actually tone it down a little bit to like 75, you can see the game becomes more pixelated, and it gets worse the more you actually go down to like 50%. Yes, it will increase your FPS, but do you really want a pixelated game? I don't think so, so make sure that is on 100% this season. View distance, this can be on the near option to get the most FPS, but if you want a slight competitive advantage, you can put it on medium or higher, as this lets you see enemies and items from a much further distance. As you can see, using near actually caps this distance to be not very far at all, so I definitely recommend using either medium or higher on the view distance tab. Auto download high resolution textures and reminders should both be off, as these can take up more storage on your PC, and the amount is actually quite a lot, so you definitely want to have that turned off. For meshes, this is personal preference. You can choose between low meshes or high meshes. Low meshes are obviously a lot more lower quality and they don't look as good, so you will get better performance using these, whereas higher meshes obviously do come at a slight higher quality, but these overall are better for visibility. So it just depends. If you want more FPS, go low meshes, but if you want a little bit better visibility, go high meshes. VSync, this should be turned off, as it can negatively affect your FPS. Show FPS can be on or off, it just is up to you. And finally, the rendering mode should be set on performance mode to get the most FPS gains possible. For game options, auto open doors is personal preference. Having it off can give you more control so you don't accidentally open a door automatically, but having it turned on can be beneficial so you don't get caught while free editing. Hold to swap is a handy one I like to have turned on, as you can swap out easily and you can pick an exact one. Preferred item slots is another one I highly recommend, as you can pre-assign weapons to go to a specific inventory slot. Here's my loadout right here. Auto sort consumables to the right should be turned on in my opinion, as you want any consumable to automatically be assigned to the right hand side, but if you obviously don't, you can turn that setting off. Confirm edit on release is a personal preference one, and it's actually quite highly debated in the community, so to find out more about that setting and which one I recommend checking out the video I made all about it on screen right here. I'll leave a link in the description below. And for the rest of the game options right here, as I scroll down, these are all personal preference except replays, to be honest. With replays, I've heard that if you turn off all of them, you will get more FPS, but obviously you won't be able to rewatch your replays, so it's up to you. HUD options, these are all personal preference again. For HUD scale, I really like to have 80%, I think that's the best one. Map and backpack keys, you want these turned off as it's distracting. Same with quest progress, you want that off too. And for the reticle ammo indicator setting, I recommend having this turned on, as you can see in the center, that is a very useful piece of information that I think everyone should use. Touch and motion controls are obviously for controller, and this is something I'm not really familiar with, as I don't play on controller, but for this one right here guys, I recommend checking out what the pros use. So head over to a website like gamesettings.com and you can find out what the pros are using and use it as inspiration and find the best settings for yourself. Sensitivity, I recommend using firstly a mouse sensitivity of 800. I think this is the best one right here, and I made a video explaining why on screen. I'll leave a link in the description below. As for the sensitivities in themselves, I recommend using between 7% and 10% in the X and Y sensitivities. I think that's a really good base sense that you can try for yourself, and you can either higher it or lower it to your preference. I also think that for the targeting sensitivity, this should be between 40% to 80%. Again, try it out and either higher it or lower it, it's up to you. And for scope sensitivity, this is honestly personal preference. I myself actually like to use the max one, which is 100%. Oh, as well as that, in the Windows settings, make sure to turn mouse acceleration off if you haven't already. For controller options and sensitivities, again, since I don't play on this, I can't really recommend anything. For the audio options, a lot of these are personal preference, but some sound quality is personal preference. I believe low will give you more FPS, so that's the one I use. 3D headphones, I like to have that turned off. Visual sound effects should be on, as this will allow you to find surrounding enemies very easily, as you can literally look up at the top of your screen and see visual sound effects that'll help you pinpoint enemies. In endgame, this works really well, and that's why you can see every pro using this setting still to this day. And aside from all of the Fortnite audio setting changes you can make, I recommend making some in Windows, specifically to the bass boost setting right here. I made a video all about it on screen with a tutorial, but essentially turns your Fortnite audio from sounding like this to sounding like this instead. As you heard, it sounds pretty good. A lot of pros do still use this to this day, so I'll leave that tutorial in the description below. For keybinds, I recommend checking out gamesettings.com to find out what keybinds the pro players are using right now. As you can see on the website, there's a ton of different pros where you can find their keybinds with ease. Click on the player, click on the keybind section at the top right there, it'll take you to all their keybinds. You can see a ton of them, and I'd basically apply these keybinds to your own keybinds and get inspiration from them, and just change a few to find out what the most comfortable ones are for yourself and which ones are the most efficient. And I think that's the best way to get the best keybinds for yourselves. Again, you don't have to straight up copy them, just get inspiration if anything. I think it's great to see what all the pro players are using out there and what the sort of current metas are. Moving on, we've got account privacy, which is the final tab right here, and in here there's a couple of options that you should change to get more FPS. You want to turn off social notifications, show season level, and you also want to hide player names, because there's a glitch that happens right now where you can actually get lower FPS, and I made a video all about it on screen. I'll leave that in the description below. But that right there, guys, was all the best settings for Fortnite in Chapter 3 Season 4. If this video helped out, then please drop a like on it and subscribe for more videos like this one. I'll be sure to make a competitive settings video soon where I go over the best double movement settings, NVIDIA settings, and a ton more, so keep a lookout for that. But that's all I've got for now. Peace.